going on, dude?
Long time no see, man.
I know.
Holy shit.
I know.
Yeah, let me get my stuff set up here.
I checked. Cool. Yeah, I checked. You were episode 49. This is episode 86.
Oh, yeah? Man, I was kind of hoping to hit your episode 69.
That was actually a coveted spot.
Yeah, really?
I had one guy asking like weeks ahead of time. He was like, I want to be episode 69. I was like, yeah, man, it's fine. And like the day of, I ended up having on like, had on the Delta Force guy, one of his friends. Didn't think anything of it, like uploaded it. And the guy messaged me. He was like, bro, what the fuck? I thought I was 69. So I went back in, changed that episode to 70 and uploaded 69 the next day. Yeah, no, you weren't alone. There was a premium on that real estate. But
yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. So, for all the good people listening, I don't remember. You were episode 49, and I don't remember which one before that. It was like
20 something.
Yeah, but you are my friend Brad Smith. You formerly drove around in an armored truck with tons of fucking money. You ate lunch on a pallet of cash, and
yep.
But now you work in a paper mill, correct?
I work in a paper mill, man.
Fuck it. No, well, dude, half my family's from Burl, New Hampshire, and they've been there for like almost a century. And in like from like the 1900s to the 1940s, that was the global capital of like paper mill innovation. Like it was one of the first places to have electricity, just because it was. So yeah, it is. You know, I think the paper mill is still there in Burl, New Hampshire. So. Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. I bet it is.
I actually wouldn't be surprised if my company, Westrock, actually owns it.
Really?
Yeah. No, they're actually a really big global paper company or paper goods sort of thing.
So what got you into it? What series of events, especially coming from like armored truck driver? It's not even like, it's not even like you were in like, I don't know, fabrication or like steel or some heavy industry, and you just, you got a job through. You went armored truck driver to. How the fuck did that happen?
Hell, we're doing a podcast, so I'll give you the long story.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck, dude. I got nothing going, man. Coronavirus is going to kill us all anyway, so.
Due to the circumstances of some events at the armored truck company, I decided to get other employment. I mean, clear cut, it was just very unsafe. The company just didn't really care about the employees. Yeah. So I was just kind of talking to my wife's father, and he's like, hey, you should apply here. I'm like, well, what's the pay? He's like, well, to start off, it's $18 an hour. And I'm like, wow, that's just $1 less from what I'm making now.
Yeah. And
so I apply, and then I find out all of the awesome things that I could do at the paper mill. I was recently promoted to the maintenance department, but for a year and a half, I was operating forklift and a clamp truck. It's just this big C, and you grab bales of cardboard and you put them onto a conveyor belt to be made into more cardboard. But no, man, I quickly went from like $18 to $25 an hour, and no, seriously, now I'm making money.
Well, shit, dude. I mean, man, I'm 29. The most money I ever made, I think, was like $13 an hour. So yeah, no, I wasn't saying that sarcastically. That's fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's not even the best part. I mean, going into the maintenance department, I got another $2 extra an hour. And I mean, it's a union job. Yeah. But see, the cool thing is, and this is kind of the reason why I never considered a union job is, your union dues and stuff like that. But it's like $20 out of my paycheck, and that's literally nothing.
That's awesome.
So, for a while, I was doing a pretty crazy 3-shift rotation. It went 7 day shifts, 3 days off, 5 afternoon shifts, 3 days off, and then 7 overnights, and then 3 days off, and you just kept doing that. I did that for about a year and a half. Now in this maintenance job, it's just Monday through Friday, and if the bosses need it, put in some overtime. Yeah, I mean, it was fun doing the rotational stuff. I mean, I made a crap ton of money last year on my taxes, but going to my maintenance job, I'm taking a pay cut. But nor here or there. It's just I applied because I have a child now, and I need to be a provider.
Yeah.
I mean, the last thing I want to do is go to work, get shot at work, and not be able to provide for my family.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, keep in mind, though, the job that I'm in now is equally dangerous just for other reasons.
Yeah. Heavy mechanical equipment reasons, but not. Yeah. I think that's probably better, though, because it's like, it's like what that guy I had on, Sean Coots, the skydiver and wingsuiter.
Yes.
He was like, dude, he's like, equipment failure is something that's like 1 in 100 million chances that like something breaks. He's like, it's not dangerous. He's like, the only reason you die is if you're an idiot and you don't take the proper precautions. He was like, the equipment won't fail you. So I imagine it's kind of like that. It's, it's dangerous at the paper mill because it's like your own stupidity would cause it versus, working at the armored truck company where you'll get shot. You freeze up, dude? Hello?
You there?
There you go. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
There we go. That's weird. But no, and I completely agree with them. I mean, equipment failure was a big thing in the armored car job, too. I actually have a picture I could send you where it's me holding my seatbelt buckle while we're traveling down the highway, and I Snapchatted while my job just got a little bit more dangerous. But no, so going back to what you were saying with your family and how you're connected to the paper mill kind of industry, I wouldn't be surprised if our mill is a little bit older than what your family kind of was around. We have 4 mills. We have 1 and 2 and 5. Oh no, and 4 and 5. So it's 1 and 2, 4 and 5. 1 and 2 was built in 1886.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, and believe it or not, they're actually, I think it was like a 20-year contract with General Mills right now, because to my knowledge, we're the only mill that manufactures all the cereal boxes for General Mills nationwide.
Fuck yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, no,
shit, man, that's some job security. That's some...
Right?
Yeah.
Well, and I actually just found out that apparently my company has some really long-term patent on the process on how to make those boxes, because on one side where you have all the ink, that's actually a ceramic coating. And they use some kind of combination of starch and clay to print on that one side, and that is the patent. So yeah, no, job security for sure. I mean, it's nice.
Yeah. I mean, I was meditating earlier, and I just noticed I had just like a general baseline anxiety. I was like, aside from just like the normal existential, like, we're all gonna die one day, we're self-aware meatbags sitting on a rock flying through space. Like, aside from that general, the crushing void all around us at all times, I was like, I was thinking, I was like, well, what's really bothering me? Like, what things normally bother me? I was like, well, I've been dieting very well. As of yesterday, I got below 200 pounds for the first time since 2015. So
good job, man.
Thank you.
Actually, I've been dieting as well.
Fuck yeah.
I think before our first podcast, it was like 230 pounds, and hell, just last week I weighed myself and I was 197.
Woo.
So,
woo,
right?
Yeah, man. But yeah, so I was like,
good job for you, man.
Thank you very much. You as well.
It's not easy dieting, dude.
No, it is not at all, dude. No, it is not at all. That's a podcast in itself. Oh, but I was gonna say, so like dieting, I was like, no, I was like, I'm doing good on that. I'm exercising. I'm, getting good sleep. I don't drink. I don't smoke. Because it's not like, it's not whenever I would go on like benders in college and I'd start to be like, all right, I gotta, I gotta pull it back. I'm drinking a lot. I was like, but I was just kind of going through like the Rolodex. Like, what are things I'm normally anxious about? I'm like, I'm doing well at
Yeah.
my online school. Like my first day of work was canceled because of coronavirus. There's just a job at a
Oh.
local bar. So I was like, I have a job. I just literally can't, no one can do anything right now. But I was just flipping
Mm-hmm.
through everything in my mind. And I was like, things that normally bother me. I'm like, no dieting, exercise, sleeping, no drug abuse, no substance abuse. No, I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
have a job. I'm doing well in school. I'm working on the podcast as much as I can. I'm doing 6 a week. I'm promoting it.
Jesus, dude.
But that's just like a time thing. I know that's just a waiting game, just working. But it dawned on me. I was like, the thing that's bothering me is not under my control. I was like, oh, like, because normally it's almost like, I don't know, I imagine it's like being blind and feeling around for something when I'm really anxious, but I can't find
Yeah.
out why. I'm like, and eventually, like, I'll hit on something like, oh, yeah, I'm failing my class. Like, that's okay, that should be, it's something like that. But I was going through and I was
Yeah.
like, I really can't, but I was like, I can feel the anxiety. And I was like, oh, there's just this general uncertainty about, this is
Mm-hmm.
the podcast. This is the newest iteration of whatever I'm doing. I've had multiple companies since I decided to not go to medical school until now. It's a 7-year block.
Yeah.
None of them have worked. And I'm like, this is like the newest. And I'm like, and this one feels good. I'm putting work into it. I think it has I think it's like an embryo. I think it can grow. But there's a point to all this. I was like, oh, well, that's a given. Yeah, if you're going to go out and create your own thing, that's that kind of comes with the territory. You get to reap the rewards, but there's also just
Yeah.
the general terrifying: is this going to work? Is this not going to work? But that got me thinking, and it's funny that you say that. I was just like, you know what? I was like, I could never for the life of me ever understand my friends that just had jobs that they weren't necessarily passionate about. And you froze up again. You there, Mr. Brad? Mr. Brad. Brad, are you alive? Hmm. Brad.
Maybe that will help.
says iPhone is trying to connect to your audio. iPhone is connecting.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay, cool.
Ready?
Sorry about that. Yeah,
No, you're
I
good.
don't know what happened there.
You're good.
All right. So you were saying that it was just a uncertainty?
Yeah. And so I was thinking, I could never, I have a lot of friends in Atlanta that just have jobs that, they don't hate, but that for me, it's not, and I could never understand that over all these years, because I guess I just hated the idea of medicine so much that, typical in my narrow-minded viewpoint, as soon as I decided I didn't want to do it, I then decided, how can anyone want to do this stuff? But it dawned on me, I was like, just so today, I was like, oh, despite everything I'm doing, there is a general anxiety because it's not going to work. And that's something that I can't fix. Yeah. I just have to hope it works. And I was like, oh, having a 9-to-5 and a job that maybe you don't necessarily love, but the payoff is that's negated. You have income, you provide, they all have wives, they all have kids.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you go? And
right here.
Oh, fucking computer's going nuts. But I was like, oh, that's, and I think it finally dawned on me today. I was like, oh, there's just a general, I get it now. Like, they're providers to their young families, and there's probably a lot of fulfillment in that. And I was like, oh, so I feel like I matured a little bit today. I was like, oh, I get now. I get why my friends that are accountants and lawyers, I'm like, oh, I'm someone that does not want kids. I'm in no rush to get married. I'm like, oh, we have different values. So I feel like an idiot, but I'm 29 years old, and I was like, oh, I get it now. So hopefully I leveled up.
Yeah, plenty of time to decide. And I'll tell you right now, there is nothing more satisfying and more rewarding knowing that I went to work, breaking my back, busting my ass, and coming home to my 4-month-old son and my beautiful wife.
Yeah.
There's nothing more pure and more awesome. Yeah. I will break my back twice over if I need to make sure that I'm providing.
Yeah.
Now, so I'm actually kind of curious, because you said that there was a general anxiety. Is it a anxiety that it's not going to work, or is it an anxiety that you will have to search for different options again?
It's not that it will not. I don't think it's for either of those.
Okay.
One thing a skill I've developed over the years of the different companies I've made is I've started to, I don't give any, one thing I always used to think was like, what if it doesn't work? What if this one doesn't work? What are you going to do? And I honestly, that's something I've done in the last couple months is I just don't, when that thought arises, I just don't entertain it. 'Cause to me, it's like, I'm so far in that, I live at home. I'm trying to figure all this shit out that I don't entertain those. 'Cause I'm like, to me, it just seems like a literal waste of like time and energy to even think about what if it doesn't. I mean, that doesn't mean don't have contingency plans, but the whole what if it doesn't work. Yeah, I don't even feed that fire, because I'm just like, the way I look at it is like I'm walking between like two skyscrapers on like a rope, and I'm just like, if I'm gonna walk, I'm gonna walk, and I'm gonna stare at where I'm going, and I'm not gonna go, what if I fall? Because I don't need to think about what if I'm gonna fall. I already just inherently know if I fall, I fall. So to answer your question,
a mindset thing too. I mean, if you're gonna fall, you're gonna fall. You probably shouldn't worry about falling because your fate has already been sealed.
And I already conjured up the courage to start walking. I did that 7 years ago, and I knew there was, so it's not even like, how did I end up here? It's because to me, it's like I'm getting to the other building or I'm dying in the process. I lived my entire first 2 decades of my life on that building, and I finally decided after several years of contemplation, I'm walking across, and it might not work, but I would rather die in the process than get there. So to answer your question, I think it's, for me, I don't look at things, is it not going to work? I just look at it as like it hasn't worked yet. And because if it doesn't work, just like my apparel companies or my writing companies or my whatever, it's sure I start a new company, but to me it's still the same. It's still me. It's still one long journey.
For
So
sure.
I look at it as like those are just iterations of, I don't know if that makes sense. So I don't look at it as is it gonna work? I look at it as when it's gonna work. And
Yeah, for sure.
that is like the general anxiety. Like in college being pre-med, it was like I know I have to take these courses over these years and take this
Yeah.
test, and it's just one test at a time. I ace it, and it's so that was just like worried about the next test, but work hard, get it done. And I was like, I know I can do that if I commit. This is different because it's not like I got 2 more years left. I got 10 more courses. It's like,
yeah,
this might work in a year. This might work in 10. And that's the anxiety. But yeah, I'm like, oh, I get. That's one thing I was thinking today. I was like, I bet there's a general, fulfillment in providing
there
for someone
certainly
you
is.
love. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
yeah. So, but on the other side, I know that all these, I guess, trials and tribulations and mental anxieties, it all comes with the territory. It's like Duncan Trussell said. He's like, no one would climb to the top of Mount Everest and put a flag up there if it was just a little grass-covered hill in a park. He's like, it's because it's this mountain of death.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like, yeah, man, it's, creating a podcast and being my own boss and having my own income source that's dictated by something that's dictated only by me in the actual thing I'm doing. I also love doing.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's the hole in one. Like, yeah, if it was easy, everyone would do it. And
yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, man, it's
I think I also going back onto why I applied to the paper mill.
Yeah.
I've always been, I shouldn't say like, I'm okay with going to college. I don't like the debt that comes with it. I've always wanted to find a company that is willing to invest their capital in me to train me to do what they want done. And that was it's not necessarily my end goal at this company, but that is what I want to make my career from. So, for example, there are many departments, but there's just the normal production workers, there's the maintenance, and there are the trades. There's a bunch of different trades. You have your millwrights, pretty much just industrial mechanics. You have your machinists, you have your electricians, and then you have your pipe fitters. There might be one or two I'm missing, but those are the two that, well, that's not two. Those are the ones that I remember. So the step into the trades is to get into the maintenance department first of all. And then from there, it's a 1 to 2 year wait before you are thrown into your apprenticeship. And then from there, you're sent off to college to get your journeyman's card, and then you have to fill a bunch of hours. And then once your trainer signs off on it, I mean, you're making a shit ton of money. I mean, my father-in-law, he's a millwright, and I was just curious. I asked him if I could look at his paycheck. He pays $1,500 per week in federal taxes.
Oh shit!
Yeah, no, he's a little above 6 figures. I mean, it is absolutely crazy. However, the job that he does now, I was recently promoted into this maintenance department. I've seen what these millwrights do. It is absolutely fucking crazy with the stuff that they do. They are the ones that pretty much slither into the mill like a snake. And keep in mind, each part of the mill weighs 10,000, 20,000 pounds. I mean, if one bolt slips or if something is turned on, they're dead. I mean, but you make some great money. I mean, great money. I could never work under my father-in-law.
Yeah.
He's just a very, he's a very intense person.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a very intense person.
Yeah.
And that's coming from me. I've been told I'm an intense person. So,
yeah. I know the kind. I know the kind. Yeah.
Very intense, super serious. But, I mean, but that's my goal. If I can get, well, not if, when I get into the trades, I'll be making that much more, and I will be providing for my family. And I've already had discussions with my wife. She may just decide to become a homemaker, or she might have a part-time job just for extra cash. I mean, I would like her to become a homemaker. However, that's completely on her, on what she wants to do. However, we could.
Fuck yeah.
Even now we could. But I mean, she certainly cut back on her hours just to this whole pandemic shit.
So,
oh boy.
Wait, so do you guys produce any toilet paper?
Funny enough, we provide something more important. We provide the boxes that toilet paper ships in.
Oh.
So without us, toilet paper cannot be shipped. That goes for the respirator packages that they come in, like the actual box that they ship in.
Yeah.
We make those. We also, because I live in Minnesota, we have a huge 3M plant here.
Yeah.
We also give them boxes to ship the N95 masks out.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, I mean, we're a huge essential place. Luckily, the people that work at my plant that have had symptoms, they've recognized them and they've self-quarantined themselves. As of right now, we're always running pretty thin on people on the production staff, just because it is some hot, terrible work. Shout out to those guys, man.
Shout out.
It sucks. But we certainly have a lot of people, but we also have a lot of smart people too that aren't selfish enough to come to work and infect other people.
Fuck yeah.
And thank God for our union for that too, because they fought for a hazard pay bonus, just a flat rate. And then they also fought for a paid 14 self-quarantine leave, I guess you would say. So it's been certainly a tough time, and we certainly have been feeling the pressure too, because it's getting very, very, very close to just mandatory overtime across the board. The production staff, now keep in mind, that is a 3-shift rotation. Their weekends are 12 hours, and their weekdays are just 8-hour shifts. There's been talk, if many people call out sick or have to self-quarantine, that they'll go down to hell, I actually think it's like a 2-shift rotation where everyone's working 12 hours a day and just alternate between days and nights. They're thinking if that happens, you might get 1 day off a month. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, but I mean, also keep in mind, can you imagine the overtime and the pay with that? I mean, now keep in mind, I believe there are 2 types of people. There are 2 types of people that love their job and they love what they do. And then there are those people that honestly just don't give a fuck as long as they're making a bunch of fucking money.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
making the paper.
Yeah. I'm one of those people that just do just about anything at work as long as I'm on the clock.
Yeah.
Seriously. Especially since anything after 8 hours is overtime.
Fuck yeah.
Even if it's 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And when I go into overtime, oh boy, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's also like, it's almost like, it's like, what the fuck else are you doing during the pandemic? Right. It's like, you know, it's not like, well, I don't want to work on weekends because, you know, I might miss out on sitting in the living room. You know, it's not like, it's not like normal life is resumed.
Had my wife not cut her hours back to weekends, I think we would have just done the same thing. But because she could, I told her, yeah, go right ahead. I mean, it's certainly nice to have her around doing more of the childcare. I mean, it kind of sucks, but the decision came down to, well, who gets paid more per hour? I mean, is that fair to her? I mean, for our situation, we mutually agreed that it was. I do want her to have a career. I mean, it's completely up to her. But I absolutely love overtime. Hell, I'm back when I was doing the armored car security, and I still have pictures. The time clock showed 220 hours, and that was bi-weekly. Jesus. So that meant I put in 110 hours in 1 week. Well, 1 week times 2. I'm just one of those people. Unfortunately, I can't do that anymore. I really wish I could because of my pay rate, but unfortunately, I can't.
Yeah.
But no, I completely agree. I am also one of those stir-crazy people. I have to be doing something at all times unless I'm sleeping. I have to.
Yeah.
If it's like just 30 minutes ago or an hour ago before this podcast, I was swapping batteries in my vehicle. I mean, or working.
Yeah.
I mean, I it's really hard for me to just stop doing things. I mean,
I agree with that entirely, man. Like when I was pre-med, that's all I did was just, that filled all my time. 7 days a week for 4 years was just studying. And when I decided not to go because I didn't like it, I went for several years where I was thinking, I didn't totally separate. I kind of took it all as one lump. I was like, oh, I didn't like what I was doing, therefore I have to do the antithesis of all of that. In hindsight, I can see, I just didn't like medicine. I did like being occupied, because for like 2 years, it became my sole endeavor to like never be occupied. I was like, I need to find, like, I was like, maybe that's where peace is because I hated my college experience so much that instead of realizing like maybe you just needed to do something else, I was like, like I have to flip it all. So not only am I not going to do medicine, I'm just not going to do, period. And mind you, it also started right after my older brother's suicide. So it was just this general like, I'm going to find peace. Dude, those 2 years, I would say, were the most tormented of my life, because it was just, I was not doing anything. So it eventually came it eventually led to like, how do I fill this time with as much pleasure as possible? Video games, weed, drinking, drugs, food. And that just became, and finally it took me a long time to realize again, I was like, oh, I love being occupied. Like I'm like, oh, like, dude, when I play video games, I mute it and I listen to audiobooks. Like right now I'm listening to a history of like the occult in like Nazi Germany. Like just anything. Because I've played the game so many times that I'm just like, and before that, I got finished with like a history of, it was called Nuking the Moon. It was projects that never left the drawing board during the Cold War. And it's, but I got to be listening to an audiobook. I got to be doing something. Is that I can hear?
It's Capone.
What's going on, Capone?
He's being a little needy. Yeah.
But yeah, no, dude, I'm with you. Like and that's one thing I realized going into quarantine. I was like, man, my sanity is going to rest on whether or not I can keep myself occupied. And yeah, dude, it's yeah. So, to kind of do a 180, what all do you do at the paper mill? Like what all happens at the paper mill? Like you said it was built in 1886, but I mean, I'm just thinking like, is that just the general structure or is it just like what all can possibly still be going from 1886?
So do you mind if I just give you a general overview of all the mills?
I don't give a shit.
And then I'll tell you what I've done. All right, so
Torque
1 and 2 mill, right?
Torque, summer 2020.
So Torque.
I gotta hit up Michael Bay.
Yeah. Maybe we could do like a paper mill spinoff. We can call it Wrench.
Right. That will be
Wrench.
Yeah, that will be the straight to DVD series.
Fall 2021.
Fall 2021 Wrench from the guys who brought you Torque. We'll have a bunch of B-list actors. Yeah, we'll save that A-list. Yeah, A-list. Yeah, that'll be Terry Crews and like Michael Bay. But yeah, maybe Mark Wahlberg, Tom Hanks, and then Wrench is where a lot of guys would get their break. You'll look back in 20 years and be like, oh shit, that's DiCaprio. You know, I'll be like, that's so-and-so. Oh, did you know he got started on Wrench? Like,
so before I give you a general overview of the mills, I have to say this.
Yeah.
If you compare DiCaprio Titanic to DiCaprio Wolf on Wall Street, completely different people.
Well, yeah. Yeah, like
completely
30 years
age, just acting style, just in general. I mean, just
he was 16 and
anyways, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
so
glad you got that off your chest.
Yeah, right.
I just had to say it. It was
So 1 and 2 mill, they're mostly permanently contracted with General Mills. I honestly do not see them ever switching to a different contract. That's how good I think we have it over in 1 and 2. So 24 hours a day, except for Christmas, they're making cereal boxes. That is the big money maker, just because of just the production costs. So that's what 1 and 2 does. 4 and 5 mill, they are the corrugated medium mills. And what that means is, if you've ever taken a look at a piece of cardboard, you have your 2 walls, and then you have the wavy part in the middle. We make the wavy part. And it's just that. And then we send that off to International Paper. International Paper makes toilet paper, by the way. And who else do we send it off to? International Paper is one of the biggest that I know of for sure. So 1 and 2 mill, they can't go as fast as 4 and 5.
Okay.
4 and 5 feed. When I was back operating forklifts, I was putting right around 120 20 tons of cardboard onto our conveyor belt an hour. And the mills were spitting out that much every hour. Due to this whole coronavirus stuff, they were backlogged about a month and a half with orders. So the toilet paper mills or the 3M mills or the 3M factories that make masks were waiting on our boxes. So that has actually cleared up, because when I contacted you about the paper mill stuff, and that was about a month and a half ago, I believe. That's when everything went to hell. And it's seriously, but now I think they're starting to catch up. They, last I saw, were only about 2 weeks behind, and that's actually really damn good. But also keep in mind the 4 and 5 mil, their actual speed is about instead of giving you miles per hour, I'll just tell you it's about 1,600 feet a minute.
Okay.
That's how much they're producing of just wavy part of the cardboard. And that's flying. 4 and 5 mil were actually manufactured in 1920 by the Japanese. And it was sent over to the United States, and it was put in. But they are some seriously dangerous machines, man.
And then we nuked them as a thanks.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But yeah, sorry, very dangerous machines. Yeah. So what is it? It's just
okay.
Well, yeah. What are them? Like, because I'm just thinking of like how something. Because I know with like certain steel mills or like iron workers, I know there are like presses and shit that have been going since like World War II. So it has to be like a rudimentary. Like you can't. You wouldn't have the same Apple factory. As things speed up and evolve. But I think for like what you're saying is. Yeah. Like the technology is not changing.
Let me tell you the general concept on how the cardboard is made, because it actually pretty much goes the same way for all 4 mills. So first you start with the delivery of the cardboard. 4 and 5 mil take different kind of cardboard than 1 and 2 mil. 1 and 2 mil take newspapers, office sort of supplies. They take cereal boxes and stuff that's already been printed on, because that's good recycling practices. 4 and 5 mil, if it's any sort of corrugated box, they throw it into a bale and deliver it to us. So 4 and 5 mil, how it works is you have 2 conveyor belts. These 2 conveyor belts are fed by forklifts, and the conveyor belts put cardboard into a 40-foot wide by 20-foot deep blender. And there's I honestly think it's like a 2-ton blade at the bottom that spins at 900 RPM.
Jesus.
No, I'm completely serious.
I believe you.
And that is like danger part 1, because it's completely possible to fall into one.
Absolutely.
It's completely possible. There was a report about a year ago of someone surviving in one of those because they held onto a rope that was dangling from the outside.
Fuck that
Scary
noise.
shit.
Fuck that noise.
So that blender is called the hydropulper. It's hydra, water, pulper. It turns cardboard into pulp, which is just known as stock. The stock is sent from the hydropulper into a bunch of different pipes to be filtered, to be cleaned, and then once it's all done, with being cleaned, it's sent to the actual mill itself. Sometimes the fiber's too long and it has to be ground down to shorter fibers. Sometimes it's just perfect and it can go straight out of the mill. Think of a inkjet printer. If you take the cartridge and you flip it upside down, you have that little square that the ink comes out of. Now think of about 40 of those lining up like 8 to 9 feet. And instead of ink shooting out of it, pulp comes out, stock comes out. And it is shot onto a very fast-moving conveyor belt that has holes underneath of it. Now, the conveyor belt I'm talking about is called the table. The table moves at anywhere from 20 to 30 miles per hour. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, but there are these blades up underneath the conveyor belt that take water out. If you look to the left of the table, the stock starts off at 90% water. When it gets to the end of the table, now keep in mind, this is going at 30 miles per hour. When it gets down to the end of the table, the water is down to right around, I think it's like 15 to 20%.
Jeez.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And when it gets to the end of the table, it can be gripped onto. And what happens is there's this 8-inch gap to where there's absolutely nothing. The table actually shoots the paper off into 2 ropes on the right side that grab it.
Okay.
And then the ropes feed it through, I think it's 60 dryer rollers. I think that's what number 4 and number 5 have. Now, there are 2 sets of dryers. There's a bottom row and there's a top row, and they kind of alternate. And it's just fed up and down.
Sure.
And the cool thing is, the only thing that's keeping the paper up against those dryer racks rollers are those 2 ropes. It extends an entire football field in length. Yeah. No, each dryer roller is about 3.5 to 4 foot in diameter. And there's a huge gear at the end, and it's driven by steam. Now, once the paper's dried, it goes from 20% down to, hell, I think it's sub 10.
Yeah.
And that's when it's actually wound up on this spool that's right at the end of the mill, and it spins the opposite way of as it's coming up. And right at the end of the mill, there's another spool, so that when you take that spool off, the other spool drops into place and it continues to accumulate on that other spool. From there, it goes to the machine's called a rewinder. And what it is it's a machine that has different blades in it that can be moved to what the customer wants.
Okay.
So if our mills a sheet of paper that's 9 foot across, but the customer only wants 4 foot across, we can make them, a couple ton roll from that 9 foot across sheet of paper. And then the other, what's left, we can fulfill another customer's order too. So it's really cool because that machine gives off so much vibration that you can actually feel it halfway down the mill.
I believe it.
Yeah. So here's another thing that people don't really understand. 4 and 5 mil, and 1 and 2 mill are side by side.
Okay.
When the mill breaks, it's not mechanically. It's not like something sheared off and the mill's completely down. When we say the mill broke, we actually meant that there was too much tension somewhere in the mill and the paper broke.
Okay.
And sometimes I actually wish the mill would break because paper accumulating in the mill at 30 miles per hour can really, really fuck shit up.
Yeah. That's a fucking headache and a half.
Oh my God. So you're pulling paper out of the mill itself, and you need to do it as fast as you can because per minute that mill is down, they are losing thousands of dollars in operational costs.
Absolutely. Well, it's a lot like DNA transcription and translation. It's inefficient when mistakes get made. Yeah, it's like we don't got all. Yeah, sorry, keep going.
Yep. So people don't understand that in between those two mills, it's 98% humidity at 140 degrees.
Fuck.
And
like
you are in between those mills until that fucking mill starts back rolling. Jesus. That's what makes the job hard.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily crazy heavy lifting because that's my department. Production, they're the ones that go into the alley in between the mills and sweats their ass off trying to get the mills back rolling. And those guys are the unsung heroes because there are plenty of crews that can restart a mill in 20, 25 minutes. And that's crazy. I mean, that's flying. Yeah. I mean, big props to them.
Yeah. Do they have any like suits, almost like hazmat suits, but for like steam, just to avoid the burns?
So they have 40-foot long poles with a fire pick at the end. No, well, not a fire pick. It's it's like a spear pole, and then there's a little curve on the other side.
Yeah, so it's like a fire.
They use that to take the paper out. They don't necessarily put their arms in between the rollers because that's our job. We're the ones with the tradesmen that actually fix the mill. But to go back to a part of your question, I personally have operated the forklift to put the cardboard onto the conveyor belt. I have personally been in the mill getting them back up and running and just doing general maintenance in the mill as a production worker. And now being in the maintenance department, I am assisting the tradesmen fixing the mill and machining new parts for the mill and transporting all the raw supplies that they need. Because the maintenance department is considered a temporary job. They don't expect you to make a career out of it. They don't even hire people to make a career out of maintenance. They hire you to go straight into the trades once a spot has opened up, which is nice because I have a lot of boomers that are retiring in the next few years.
Fuck yeah. Slide on in there.
Right?
Now, do you, would a paper mill, I mean, obviously, it'd be all sorts of qualifications, not least of which would be security. Would a paper mill ever be able to do something just tying it into your old job in making money? Or is that completely specialized?
So, if you are asking if we contract a security company, the answer is yes. But they're not armed. Matter of fact,
I was gonna say no. Could the mill print money?
No. So they're not that kind of mill.
Yeah. Could they?
I mean, I guess if if we had enough capital, everything could be converted into making the paper itself, but not printing.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah. You know, like legal and like security oversights aside, like would the mill like physically be capable of producing that?
See, the stock that is used on both sides of the mill is completely different from the type of stock used to make the currency paper. It's recycled cardboard, and versus say like the money paper itself being mostly cotton, I honestly think that it would be a multi-million-dollar project, but I guess it could be done.
Now
it would take a lot of engineering.
Yeah. So
it might be I think it might be not really worth it. I mean, with all the money you would have to sink into it at first.
Yeah. Would you guys be able to? So I was just thinking earlier, with like the future of like Amazon, they think it's going to be. I guess this is two parts. First part I just thought of. Would the paper? How would you do this? So let's say the future of Amazon, everyone thinks it's going towards drones, right? Just have shit delivered right to your doorstep. Fucking Skynet's coming.
That'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah, it would be fucking amazing. But what I was just thinking is like when you're working on the scales of these big multinational corporations, I mean, it comes like this competition and the cutthroat nature of it comes down to like hundredths of a penny. Because you're just everything's multiplied by, you know, even if it's like cost per French fry from McDonald's versus Burger King, it's like, all right, now multiply it by 150 billion, and then there's the value. So it's so I was just thinking, like, as that becomes a thing, drone delivery systems. Well, when you have so many drones carrying things using batteries to charge that electricity to draw, it's going to come down to. You're going to want to carry the lightest possible thing. Would there be a specific way to produce like, because if you're a drone, you're a little drone carrying shit. Yeah. You know, multiply by a billion orders is a traditional cardboard box necessarily the thing you want to be carrying? Or if you gave it a feather light box, would it be able to do 11 trips without recharging as opposed to 10 multiplied over the years? And that's where a ton of savings would come in. Is there like a way... You know what I'm saying? Is there like... could you see that?
Absolutely. So what you're suggesting is there a way to make the traditional cardboard box better if drones become the main way of transporting parcels?
Yeah.
And I think the answer is yes. There have been boxes that I've put onto the conveyor belt that have been ultra light, very strong. And there have been boxes that I have seen that are water resistant. And all they've done to it is put a very fine coat of whatever chemical on it, and it's kind of shiny and
waxy.
It not waxy, shiny. Wax adds weight, believe it or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it becomes shiny, and when you drop water onto the shiny surface, it beads right up and falls off.
Okay. Yeah.
So
hydrophobic surface.
I could see that they could use a thinner box that is also water resistant. However, I could also see them just using a traditional box and only launching drones on good weather days. I mean, I don't think Amazon's going to deliver a package when it's storming out by drone.
Well, there's the beautiful free market. Someone will.
Yeah.
Amazon won't deliver your
No.
shit when it's raining out. Come over to Bob's, whatever. You know, we'll
Yeah,
deliver
right.
any. Well, I mean, really, that's what the free market will do. That's what capitalism will do.
Yeah.
Someone will jump in and be like, "We deliver during anything." It's
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, how would they do it? Would it just be?
But I mean, drone technology too. I mean, it depends on the size of the package. But if you compare 2008 drone technology to what we have in 2020, completely different.
Yeah.
There are YouTube videos of people sitting on like 4 drones that they've put together and flying themselves around. I mean, stupid, kind of crazy, but really cool.
Kind of fucking awesome.
I mean, yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, drone technology's certainly come a long ways from the early 2000s when you had your little remote control helicopter that you would buy from Walmart.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're on Reddit, have you ever gone to FPV racing? I don't know why the fuck I'm subbing there, but Jesus, they have some awesome gifts. There's so many subreddits I have no idea how it's probably high or drunk one night 10 years ago, and now I'm subbed to it. But yeah, that's one of them, FPV racing, and it's just people posting videos every day. I think it's first person view, and they GoPros on their drones. Dude, the shit is fucking crazy. But
yeah.
I was just thinking.
Have you seen drone racing?
No. I bet that's cool.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. What they'll do is they'll have like a bunch of loops in their racetrack or whatever, and they'll put fucking cameras on their drones, and they'll sit and look at their screens and fly their drones through the course and everything, and they'll race. Coolest fucking shit I've ever seen.
Fuck yeah, there is. I mean, dude, one of the guys I've had on a couple times, he flew drones for the Air Force, and now I'm pretty sure he does for the Central Intelligence Agency. Yeah, man, it's
redacted.
Yeah, it's redacted, blanked out, drawn, blacked out. Yeah, but dude, well, I was just thinking like the entire delivery system would be. Obviously, it'd be like normal shipping, where it'd be like you're not gonna send a truck to every individual, house. You're gonna go, you get that whole neighborhood, you just drive through, and obviously be most economical. But I was just thinking, like, where's the majority of the power coming in? The majority of the power would be, well, it's you multiply the height by the force of gravity, and that's how much power you'd be changing. So you wouldn't want a drone. I was just thinking, you wouldn't want it. Fly down to the front porch, drop off package A, go up to the next one and go package, because you just think that multiplied, having to go up and down, it's going to have to be recharged quicker. The charging takes power from the grid. That costs money. It's all about getting cheaper. I was thinking, I wonder if they would just have each one would almost just like, it would stay at a steady, because it'd be a lot cheaper if you just stayed at like 25 feet height and you went over the houses and just came. You almost had like, I don't know, like a little, like lower it down and drop it, because it'd be a lot cheaper to pull the rope back up versus pulling the whole craft back up. But then I was thinking like, would you have like a mothership that would almost be like a FedEx truck? You'd pull up to the front of the neighborhood.
The top comes up.
Yeah, but seriously, floating.
You see a little. Comes
in docks everywhere, comes back in, gets on the truck, and maybe it's got 30 seconds to the next neighborhood, but you get that 30-second charge. They come in. There'd be a whole. I imagine it would just all fucking be automated. I don't know. Would you use a blimp? That'd be probably the cheapest way. Have them all keep docking with the mother blimp.
There we go.
Imagine a fucking Amazon blimp, like a Hindenburg-sized Zeppelin.
The regulatory shit the FFA has to go through, all that shit's going to be a nightmare. Yeah. I'm very curious how that's going to all transpire.
Yeah, Bezos will. I think he'll grease the wheels with his $150 billion. I imagine he'll get it done. Yeah, dude, that would be. I mean, but you got to think you almost want to get it to a point where like nothing would inhibit it. Like coronavirus, like who cares? Like you still have this thing. It's like nothing's touched by humans. If it was just drones dropping. But yeah, man, talk about mass terrorist attack. I mean, shit, dude. If you could get control of the shipping and receiving department of just one place, and you put a fucking C4 incendiary, just a little, little tube in each one, you could burn down neighborhoods. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, shit, dude. It's 7. So you okay with doing like 10, 15 more minutes?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. You good with that?
Yeah.
I know it's Friday. I know you've been working all week.
Back to the paper mill.
Oh, yeah.
No. So, they're designed different. It's really weird. Because 4 and 5 mil were manufactured like 50, 40 some years after 1 and 2 mil. It just makes it makes more sense on the 4 and 5 mil side. So 4 and 5 mil, they have 2 stacks of rollers, the bottom and the top. 1 and 2 are shorter mills. They still are the same technical length, but they are stacked 5 rollers high. And when paper breaks on those sides, on that side, it's much more dangerous clearing out the dryer rollers, because there's this elevator that is operated by 2 people. One sits close to the mill. The roller stops spinning. The person behind him is the operator. He controls the up, down, left, right, or traveling down the line. And again, they have the 40-foot pole, jamming paper out of the mill. But long story short, that elevator has broken 5 or 6 legs in this past year, and it's not even July or January. On that side of the mill, 2 people have lost fingers. Like I said, plenty of people have broken legs. That side of the mill it's just fucking dangerous. OSHA's our best friends. I mean, we see them every week because they do their audits, and we comply with them 100%. And when OSHA says, hey, you need to make this change, we do it. I mean, it's just people still get hurt. And the union has called meetings together, just asking the $1 million question, why are people getting hurt? And it's not necessarily the machines we're thinking. I mean, the machines are inherently a dangerous environment. I mean, but there are other variables like the production staff. The turnaround is so crazy just because of how hot the environment is, the requirements, and just the breakneck pace you have to work at to keep the machines running. That they can't train people properly. Because, believe it or not, these paper mills cannot be electronically automated. They have to be manned by people.
Okay.
And each mill takes 20, 30 people to keep running. And when the paper breaks, it takes all 30 people to clear it out in a decent time. So it is a very dangerous environment. You can actually see all of the protective guards around the mill that have been added on. I couldn't imagine working at this place back in like 1910.
Well, that's what I wrote down. I was going to ask, what do you think is like the net death count? Just because, yeah, man, I mean, any safety prior to like, I'm sure that thing was probably utilized for wartime manufacturing in World War II. But
yes, they made bombs.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. But yeah, I mean, for like half of its life, it's got to be dangerous.
Yeah. Actually, the machine shop where the machinists make parts for the mill, we're still using drill presses and lathes from World War I. It's really cool.
Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, it's really cool. And during World War II, the machinery that Westrock actually received in World War II has little plaques on the side saying during wartime the government can come and occupy this.
Commandeer.
Yeah.
All right, hold on.
It's really cool.
I'm gonna go piss. Can you?
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna take a break too.
All right.
Man, it was a tough day in the mill.
Yeah.
But no, I think I got another 10, 15 minutes out of me.
Okay. All right. Hold on.
Absolutely, man.
Start recording in 3, 2.
Cool.
Yeah. So what are you still using from World War One?
We're using lathes and drill presses.
I'm a pampered city boy. What is a lathe?
A lathe is a machine that you put a piece of raw steel into, and it spins at maybe a couple thousand rounds per minute. And you take tools and you press these tools into the spinning material to manufacture rolls or pretty much to manufacture anything that's round.
Okay, actually, yeah. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and the drill press it's just a simple bit that goes down and you make holes and stuff. Yeah. I mean, believe it or not, we have some updated machinery, but everyone goes back and they use stuff from the 1910s just because it's just better.
Really?
Everyone prefers the analog stuff over the stuff with all the technology in it just because it seems that you can produce stuff faster.
Yeah. Yeah, probably simplicity.
Yeah.
And it's just got like that.
Yeah, it's
durable fucking feeling. Like
you press the on button and it goes, rather than you press the on button and you have like 6 separate safety features you have to disable before it actually turns.
Yeah, no, you got that good old fashioned days of child labor, like
right?
Fire it up, smoking a cigar, beating your wife, your Model T outside. Yeah, get in there. You're 7 years old. Doesn't matter if you can't read. Don't get your bowl cut stuck.
I seriously could not imagine working at this place in, say, like 1910. It's just a dangerous environment.
In what's the name of the company again?
Westrock.
I was going to say, in Westrock's defense, any manufacturing in 1910. It's not a slight against Westrock.
Westrock bought the mill out from a company called Rock 10, and there was probably a few buyouts, but it was originally named Waldorf, I think it was. Waldorf, I believe that. I believe that's what I saw. But man, it's a really interesting job. And I actually kind of compare it to like the oil fields, just because you can make a lot of money. Matter of fact, I was talking to a forklift operator in our shipping department, just sitting on his butt. Well, not sitting on his butt. He was operating a forklift and putting finished product into trailers. Last year, he broke 6 figures. I mean, you can make a shit ton of money. And if you look in our parking lot, people are buying high-end sports vehicles. I mean, there was just this guy on the 1 and 2 mill side that bought a F-150 from Roush. It was a performance truck. It's really cool. Fucking $90,000 truck.
Fuck.
I wish I could have $90,000, but but that's the trades for you. I mean, I've always been an advocate of blue collar and white collar. I mean, however, if you can do a trade school for 1.5 years, 2 years, and damn near make six figures as long as you're willing to put in the hours. I mean, go right ahead and do that. It's nothing against people that go to college. I mean, because you can certainly make a crap ton of money if you have the right major.
Yeah. No, I would say in hindsight, I mean, obviously I needed it to go to medical school.
Yeah.
You couldn't just elbow grease it. It's like if
Right.
you didn't know the immaterial, you didn't know the material.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, dude, I look at a lot of my friends that went to college, and it's like they don't. All that was just an expense. They did nothing for them. I have one friend that did trade school instead, went to the same like private high school as I did, was as intelligent as anyone, but he just went and I think he just went and like learned like how to like install like cabinets and doors. Took like 18 months. He is, aside from like the couple friends I have that are now like practicing doctors, aside from them, he is definitely balling the most. Like, and he's not, it's anyone that knocks on blue collar is a fucking moron. It's like, dog, there is dough to be made.
Yeah. I mean, look at those road construction workers. Yeah. They work 3 or 4 months, maybe 5 months out of the year, and then they just sit at home because they can, because they were making $120 an hour on the side of the road, fixing roads, and they just saved all that money up, and life is good.
Yeah. I mean, dude, my cousin's husband is a lineman. And from New England, works on power lines, and Jesus Christ,
that's a crazy job.
Jesus Christ, he's rolling in it. And whenever there's a huge storm, dude, in like Florida or the Southeast, they'll contract people from all over the country during like hurricane just hit. We got to get power back up to the hospitals and shit. They'll fly him in from across the country, and they make something like overtime times 6. So like he's getting like 6x pay.
Where I'm working, you hope to God that you get stuck over on Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving specifically is 4 times pay because they pay you. How does it work? You get double time the entire day.
Okay.
And then if you're into overtime, it is, I think because it's Thanksgiving, they also do twice that pay if you go into overtime. And if someone calls out, it's a mandatory 16-hour shift.
Yeah.
It's a mandatory 16-hour shift. And I have never been stuck over on Thanksgiving, but if I ever am, I will certainly pay my rent on my apartment a couple extra months.
It's like it's kind of like The Simpsons, like Officer Wiggum, and he's like
love Officer Wiggum.
Yeah, and he's like it's almost like what you said. It's like, I've never worked on Thanksgiving. And you think someone would be like, oh, thank God. You're like, no, I hope I get it. Wiggum's like, you know how it goes. Like, week left on the job, I'm shot and killed. Week left before retirement, and I'm shot and killed or paralyzed. And it's like, that's terrible. He's like, oh no, God, I hope it happens. He's like, do you know how much more pension I get? He's like, they're talking about so and so. He's like, week left on the job, he got shot at, wasn't killed, and they're like, oh, it's a tragedy. Go home. He's like, yeah.
Actually, speaking of that, the paper mill is the only place I've actually ever known that still offers a pension.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that on top of your Social Security retirement and any sort of Roth IRA or Roth 401k you have, I mean, you're pretty much set up. I mean, as long as you put in your hours and you retire when you're told you can retire, you're good, man. I mean, it's actually a really cool place, and I applied and accepted the job originally without even knowing about the pension until it was actually mentioned in one of our union meetings. And I'm like, cool, this is awesome. I mean, there's a machinist that's going to retire in about 2 or 3 years. And he's saying, yeah, no, every year I tell them I'm going to work past my retirement date, they're adding another $250 a month onto my pension.
That's sexy.
Right?
Fuck yeah.
I just thought that was cool. I mean, as of right now, if you were to retire right now, just from the pension alone, he's getting $2,500. I would love $2,500 just to sit on my ass. Not sit on my ass, but just
to do whatever
income after retirement.
Yeah.
I mean, but you certainly put in the blood, sweat, and tears. I'll tell you.
That's the thing. Is it's like the blue collar, like it's like don't knock it because it's like that's guaranteed money. It's shit that's never going away. Construction, maintenance, but it's also like it's not. There's a reason why it's there's a reason why it's like guaranteed, and it's like because you're guaranteed to always be at fucking work. It's like you gotta. There's no dancing around it. You're in there. No. You're putting in your testicles worth. Yeah. And
absolutely.
I was gonna say we got like 5 more minutes, but I forgot what I was going to say. I had something really stupid. Oh, I was going to say... No, I don't remember what the fuck I was going to say. Oh, yeah. Talking about drones and, like, firebombing neighborhoods. Not to do a complete 180. But, like... but the book I was listening to, Nuking the Moon by Dr. Vince Houghton, who is the curator at the National Spy Museum. I'm going to try to get him on the podcast. He hasn't responded to me. But it's... In it, they're talking... I remember hearing about one of these years ago, but I finally, like, learned about it in depth. Everyone was like, you know, if you were like able-bodied in World War II, you were going to like fight in Europe and in the Pacific. And if you were smart, they were like, we're not going to have you over there catching a bullet. Like you're smart enough to, you know, for instance, you know, produce silenced guns, or you're over, you know, produce, you know, sturdier parachutes or whatever. So a lot of scientists were just, you know, they wanted to help the war effort, beat the Nazis and the Japs. And so they were just, you know, how can I help my country? And this one guy was like, he was driving through some canyon while he was like thinking about, you know, I think it was right after, I think he had just learned about Pearl Harbor on like the radio. And he was like driving through this canyon in the Southwest, and he was just saw all these like bats. And he was like, he like knew.
Oh, the bat bombs, man.
Yeah. He was like bats. He was like, bats like love dark little nooks and crannies. And he was like, Tokyo, he was like, you know, it's super dense. He's like, but also he's like, just because of the time, cheap construction in Tokyo, like specifically Japan, was known to be like,
it's like, their architecture style too.
Paper derivatives, wood. It was always, you know, it was just, and he was like, he's like, if we were to strap little like gelatin, almost like a precursor to napalm, to these bats, and if we could throw them out and they went and found little nooks and crannies in Japan, we could burn it down. But I guess there was actually like the project kind of cut itself short because all the bats flew to like
got loose.
Well, they all flew like while being tested, but they went and they flew to like I think where they were keeping all the other bats or something. It was some weird thing where they flew back to like they're like, oh fuck, and so they started burning down this whole area where they had been like securing all these bats. But the project was so top secret that not even the base commander knew what was going on. So they couldn't have a fire department on hand because they weren't sure if there were any spies. And so they basically just had to watch the thing was burning, but there's basically like federal agents like, you can't go in there, like that fire's classified. And so the whole thing literally burned to the ground. But it was also because it was so classified that no one else knew at the same time we were developing the A-bomb. And apparently Vannevar Bush, he was like, he shut down the bat program. We're like, why are you shutting it down? And he was like, basically he can't say anything, but he was like, we're working on something. And it was, you know, it it was producing an artificial sun. But yeah.
Well, did you hear about the pigeon-guided bombs too in World War II?
No, but it makes sense.
No, yeah. So, very shortly, I'll describe it. Yeah. They trained pigeons to peck at a screen, mm-hmm. and the screen image that they would be rewarded for was the silhouette of Japanese or any Axis style ships. And what they would do is, and they actually successfully trained them.
I'm sure they did.
And then they had this cradle inside of the bomb with a little window. And depending on where the pigeon pecked, it actually turned the it turned the fins on the bombs. Yep, to make the adjustment.
I love it.
But that was actually canned as well because I think once the higher up started to figure out, like during the presentations of, hey guys, we're using pigeons to guide bombs. I think the Secretary of Defense or just someone that could have approved it didn't, just because it was sort of outrageous.
Was just like, the fuck? No. It was, yeah.
It's crazy enough to work, and it did, but they didn't do it.
Well, another one they actually worked on was they figured cats hate water. Cats will always want to be facing away from water, so they actually thought about tying cats to huge bombs. And
Jesus.
The idea was we drop these in mass over like a Japanese fleet formation, and the cats would be hurtling towards the ocean, and they would think, oh fuck, it's water, so they turn, they think, oh fuck, it's water, so they would then see the ships and be like, I want to go towards the land, or the dry area. So the idea was that the cats who were strapped to these bombs would yank and try to get towards it, and that would guide the fins. But they scrapped it on day one because they dropped it and the cat passed out within the first 50 feet of the drop. And I think cat died. I think the cat fell something like 5 miles. But within the first 50 feet, I guess no oxygen and shock. The cat just passed out, and they're like, "Well, we're scrapping that one now."
Well, let's use pigeons instead because they can handle the G-force.
Pigeons, and then no pigeons, and then bats, and finally they're like, "Fuck it, let's set off the sun."
Well, let's just nuke them.
Fuck it, we'll nuke them. Yeah, dude, I'll send.
But before we go, I actually just remember I didn't answer your question about deaths.
I know net deaths. I'm sure there's.
I know of two. One of them was years ago, before I was conceived, 60s or 70s. Okay. Someone was actually dragged up into the mill by one of those two ropes. Uh-huh. Those ropes are designed to stretch. They're not designed to break.
Yeah.
So when one does break, it has enough elasticity to actually snap back, and it wrapped around someone's arm and it pulled them up into the mill. And the guy was squished to death, to say the least. Sure. The other one was during a mill fire. When a paper mill starts on fire, that's a huge deal because there's dust, there's a bunch of just flammable stuff. And yes, absolutely, a spark is a huge deal. But it was unfortunately a firefighter fighting the fire over on the 1 and 2 mill side. When some supports burnt through, it sent an entire wall onto him, and the wall was made from brick, and he was crushed to death.
Jesus.
That was, I think that was in the 80s. Luckily, there hasn't been a death since, but I will tell you right now, our foremans and our head guy at the corporate level that works at our mill takes safety above productivity. If he thinks the slightest thing could potentially harm us, he will shut down the mill.
Yeah.
he does not care.
Yeah.
He will shut it down, and he will do everything as safe as humanly possible to make sure everyone goes home with all their legs, fingers, and head, etc.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, I forget what plane it was. It might have been the SR-71, but when they were doing like classified tests in like the 50s and 60s, it actually had a domestic fatality because the shock wave was so strong. No, I
snapped it in half.
Well, no, not that.
No?
The plane, the shock wave, like they knew these sonic booms were like insane, and I think there was an emergency in the plane, so it deviated off course and it went out of the desert and it went over some town. But the shock wave, you know, blew out a ton of windows, but it blew out the windows in some like cathedral, and there were these guys on scaffolding working, and it blew them, and you know, they fell like 60 feet onto marble and just broke their necks. But it was classified, and they could never say what did it because it was classified. But it's just, yeah, man, talk about a way to fucking go. Sonic boom from a stealth jet that doesn't officially exist. Fuck that insurance claim. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man, let's definitely do another one.
Yeah, absolutely. There's still a lot of technical stuff I'd like to get into.
Fuck yeah. Absolutely, man. I would love to.
Be cool to, well, now that I'm in maintenance, I can actually supply you specifically with videos of it too. I mean, just to show you the process.
Fuck yeah.
It's so weird. I mean, just millions of different parts turning and it somehow working. It's literally fucking magic.
Looks like some Willy Wonka shit.
Yeah, I mean, they must have some sort of unicorns in the power plant that make this thing run.
Well, those are classified.
Classified.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
And redacted.
Yeah. Don't get your security clearance revoked from showing me the unicorns. Yeah, man.
Absolutely, man. Well, hey, it was nice chatting.
Dude, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Definitely take some videos. That'd be cool. I'll pin those to the end of the next video. I'll just tag them on at the end. I'm gonna send you that book, Nuking the Moon.
Do it.
I think you'd really like it, man. Yeah. We can talk about that next time. The book's fucking crazy.
Now, actually, Nuking the Moon, what NASA did, and to measure the vibrations from the moon, right?
Well, no, that we impacted an orbiter. But our plan was to nuke the moon to show the Soviets that we could nuke the moon.
That were awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, apparently it was in retaliation of Sputnik. We were like, fuck them sending up a beeping sphere. Their idea,
I thought retaliation from Sputnik was us sending someone to the moon.
Well, yeah, it was that. But before that, what they wanted to do was they wanted to nuke it. And they wanted to nuke it right at the... So it'd be... So you could see it on the silhouette. They wanted to do it because they knew the sun would catch it at night, and so they literally wanted this plume to illuminate. But you know the reason they didn't...
That could be Moscow.
yeah. But the reason they didn't wasn't because it wasn't feasible. Is because they realized from the different atmosphere or lack thereof, as well as surface composition, that it wouldn't produce the... We then realized that mushroom clouds aren't universal, but rather just rather an effect of our atmosphere and conditions around it. But we realized it wouldn't create the recognizable mushroom cloud, and instead would just be kind of a blur, just like a lump.
Yeah.
That was why it was canceled. Nothing else. They were like, it won't be the mushroom cloud. They were like, fuck it. Mothball it. No, it wasn't should we not nuke the moon. It wasn't it was no, we could do all of it. We've got the math down. But it's not going to produce the mushroom cloud. It was, well, then what are we fucking doing? What am I doing? You know?
I still think we should nuke the moon just for shits and giggles because we're America.
I'm still down for nuking the moon. I'm absolutely down. That's how Trump's going to win. He's going to go, we're going to nuke the moon. Show China that we will not be held. What does that have to do?
Tremendous.
What does that have to do with coronavirus, sir? That's not the point.
That's not the point. All right, man.
All right, dude.
We'll schedule the next podcast.
Yeah, right, I'll text you in a bit. Yeah, man. Get some rest. Radical. And thanks again for doing it, bro.
Sir. Yeah, absolutely.
Torque.
Have a good one.
Torque.
Wrench
this fall. All right, buddy.
See ya.